Good afternoon, guys. So what just happened then? Millions are facing a cruel winter this year as with proposed government cuts. Now, I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to be talking about what's happening in the United States and how it really does parallel what's happening in the United Kingdom. And then at the end of it, I'm going to talk about something a little bit off topic, but I'm going to talk about this yacht that was, this billionaire's yacht that sank off the coast of Italy. I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to refer this to some of the work I did in the military with large corporations. And one of the things they were looking at is how to sink ships quickly. So that'll be at the end, guys, because it's a little bit off topic and it's not really, and I can't really back that up with articles, with facts. All I can tell you is the science behind it. But anyway, guys, so it's come out now that, the government, people on the backbench in the United Kingdom, they're all saying what I've said for a couple of weeks now. The proposed tax hikes and the proposed cuts to benefit systems and help for people on lower incomes. People are saying that this winter, it's looking like it could be a really cruel winter if people are going to be struggling to pay, to meet their basic needs. Now, maybe it's an intended consequence of this or an unintended one, but the reality of the situation is, if these cuts, if these tax hikes go up, it's going to force more people into unemployment. It's going to force more people to rely on the welfare, onto welfare, and it's going to raise social, what's the word I'm looking for? Social tensions. You're going to have a situation potentially in the winter when people who've been paying into the tax system all their life, they've found themselves unemployed. They're finding themselves struggling. You're going to have Christmas coming, Christmas presents, buying things for the family, that whole situation, and they're going to have no money to do this. And then they're going to be looking at these migrants coming into the United Kingdom in their nice warm hotels with the heating that's paid for, with their 3 meals a day that's provided by their tax money, and the free money that they get given. Now, whether that's right or wrong, that is not for me to say. What I'm saying in this video is that's going to be the situation. And then you can understand the frustrations of, the rank and file civilians in the United Kingdom who are going to be looking at this. They're going to be sat back. They're going to be thinking, oh, hang on a minute. So I paid all my life into this tax system. Now I can't afford to feed my family. I can't afford to heat my house. I can't afford to buy Christmas presents, but the money I've paid into the tax system, it's going over there to that hotel where they don't have to worry about heating. They don't have to worry about their next meal. And they're going to think, how is this fair? And then what's going to happen? You're going to get the same old thing happen. You're going to get these social tensions build up. Why? Because they've not been dealt with. Don't anybody be under any illusion and think that because Keir Starmer sent some people draconianly to jail, that people are not annoyed, that people are not angry. I mean, I wonder if he reads the comments that people leave on his posts on on social media platforms. I wonder if he goes onto platforms and just looks what people are commenting and look how angry people are, and they're all saying the same thing. It's not difficult to understand what people are thinking. You read the comments, what people are saying. It's really easy because that's what they're thinking. But the reality is, I don't know what's happening. I did a video earlier saying who's really making these policy decisions, who's really in charge, because it doesn't feel like anybody in the United Kingdom is in charge of the United Kingdom at the moment. It feels like somebody outside is. I mean, if you was an alien, just say, guys, I don't do aliens videos anymore because there's too much bad news. But imagine if you was an alien, right? Just go with me, guys, right? You're an alien and you're looking at the UK at the moment. You don't know anything about the UK and you're trying to figure out what the UK is. You would look and say, all right, look, this is their legal system. Yeah, right, okay. So if you do a violent crime, you get this much time in prison. Right, okay, right, yeah, okay. Right, yeah, this is how much time they get in prison. Right, okay. Right, if you post something on social media, you get longer in prison. All right, so that must be a worse crime in there. Yeah, that's, It's so deluded and absolutely ridiculous. I hope at some point Keir Starmer does understand the enormity of his, catastrophic first, 2 months. I think it's very fitting that Jeremy Clarkson's banned him from his pub. But, that's what we're facing, guys. It really is. I mean, I did a video on another platform earlier on today, and we was in a supermarket. And as you said, I said, look, I'm on the supermarket. We're in the supermarket here. We're on, look at the shelves. Do these shelves look full? And they've got the big, the really big storage boxes. They've got one on each shelf every 4 feet or something to make it look like they've got more stuff on the shelves. Additionally to that, they've even, they've even taken like an aisle out. They've removed an aisle now. So that to me says that they're having shortages with imports. Not only are they having shortages, but it doesn't look like they're going to be getting that, an increase in their stock anytime soon. Otherwise, why would they have removed a whole aisle? And that's the reality of the situation. We're looking at shortages of stuff. We're looking at food shortages, and all this stuff could come to an crescendo around about Christmas time, and that is when it's going to be absolutely catastrophic, especially if we have a harsh winter. We really have been blessed these last couple of years by not having a harsh winter, which has not put the fuel prices up. It's given people options. It's given people a little bit more money in their pockets, even though they don't feel it. But the reality is, if we have a hard winter this year, we are going to see riots, protests, the likes we've never seen in the United Kingdom, because ordinary people are going to be getting up off their seats, and they're going to be going out and they're going to be making their voices heard. And you know what? When they've got nothing left to lose, they've got nothing left to lose. So things will just escalate. And that's the reality of this situation. And people in government in the United Kingdom at the moment, they're either blinkered, they can't see it, or they don't care, or maybe a little bit of both. Maybe a little bit of each one of those. But that is the reality, guys. When Christmas comes, people have got no money. They're going to be looking for somebody to blame. They're going to be, there's going to be social tensions. All the rest of it's going to flare up, and then you're going to have, like we saw in these, these protests, we're going to have foreign agencies pushing propaganda into our country, pushing blame, pushing one aspect, pushing one agenda, and then you're going to have other agendas, and it's all going to come to a crescendo, guys, this Christmas, if these cuts go ahead, if these tax raises go ahead. Now, it's going to be very telling what happens in October, but that's the reality of the situation as I'm making this video. So the United States, then, I saw this and I couldn't quite believe it. So RFK, who is, well, I'll read you. In fact, let me share this with you quickly, guys, and I'll highlight a couple of key points. Where are we? So a sad ending to a sad story. Kennedy family criticizes RFK after he endorses Trump. So RFK, so Robert Frederick, RF Kennedy, I'm not sure what the F stands for. Is it Frederick? So RF Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, nephew of assassinated former President JFK and the son of Bobby Kennedy, who was killed while running for the White House, has thrown his support behind the Republican nominee, Donald Trump. Now, this is such a big thing, first of all, because he was a presidential nomination. Second of all, because the whole Kennedy family have historically been Democrats, which would be Labour Party in the United Kingdom, and obviously Trump would be Republican Conservatives. Now, like I just said, he's come out of the race and he's throwing his support behind Trump, which is a massive, massive thing. You've got the leading. You've got he was a really well-respected guy in America. A lot of people wanted to vote for him. And now he's saying, you know what? I'm not going to run. I support Donald Trump. So I think he's going to, and Donald Trump saying he's going to, I've heard, well, I don't know how correct they are. Maybe just fake news or whatever. But I've seen a few articles where Donald Trump's considering him for director of the Central Intelligence Agency. Now, where is it, guys? Yeah. So speaking at the news conference, Mr. Kennedy said the Democratic Party, so the Labour Party, was no longer champions of the Constitution and had departed dramatically from the core values. Now, you could change that with Labour Party, because everybody, it seems there's been a total switch reverse on the on the policies of our main political parties in the United Kingdom. You know, if you look historically what the Labour Party would stand for, they would stand for, you know, they would stand for free speech, they would stand to stop wars, they would look for peace. But the reality is, it kind of looks like that sort of stuff's been inverted at the moment. And I do think there's a lot of this inversion going on. I've said a few videos ago now, I said, when I see something like, you know, a non-government organization, I look at their name and I always just do a thought experiment and, you know, invert the name. So if it's Save the Children, or if it's World Kitchen, or whatever it's called, the World Food Bank, I always just try and invert it and then look at the organization and think, well, maybe. So the reality is now we have just had a total flip in, certainly in the United Kingdom, and it really does look like we've had the same thing in the United States, where core party values have just flipped. And it seems now that we're having the same thing in the United States, same thing in the UK, and it looks like there really is this, you know, concerted effort at the moment just to throw chaos at everyone. So that's the reality of the situation in the United States. You know, you've got people who are, you know, probably the biggest names in, I mean, I guys, honestly, right now, as I'm thinking, I can't think of a bigger name in politics than the Kennedys. You know, even, I mean, you can argue the Trumps, but they've got Donald. So Clintons, I guess. No, I'm going to go with it, guys. I'm going to go with the Kennedys is probably the biggest name in US politics. Now, they have always historically been Democrats. Now, for them, you know, for RFK to shift to the Republicans, guys, that is absolutely huge. And I do feel a tide of change is coming. I hope it's the right way. I hope it's the right change. I'm always skeptical about everything. Personally, I'm just skeptical, guys, whether this is going to, you know, pan out into fruition. But that's the situation there. Now, with this yacht that's sank, let me just so for those of you who don't know, a British billionaire, he was out in his yacht. The yacht sank. I don't think there was any survivors. Guys, I don't want to get into the, you know, the what actually happened on the yacht, 'cause I've seen like conspiracies. He was in a lawsuit or something with HP. You know, he won the lawsuit, and then this thing happened with his yacht, and then I think the same day somebody else in the trial, he died, was hit by a car or something at the same time. You know, I don't know anything about that. That's just what I've heard online. I'm not sure if any of that's true. What I want to talk about is something that we used to do. Well, I used to do in the military, and it wasn't like a role that I had specifically. You would get, when I was in the military, you used to have people from, well, particularly the guys I used to work with were BAE Systems. And they'd come out and they'd talk to you and they'd see how their kit and equipment were doing, and they would ask for any suggestions. Well, I got working with these guys quite a lot, and I designed a couple of systems myself. One of the things we did, we went up to Faslane, which is just off the coast of Scotland, well, Scottish coast. And they've got a training area there. And we were doing some training in the water. So we were talking to the guys with, you know, the guys who deal with that sort of stuff. Now, we got talking to them, and, you know, we was talking about like what they're looking for, and they were looking for X, Y, and Z. And then, you know, we were just talking, and I said, so I guess, you know, the golden standard for you guys is to be able to sink, an aircraft carrier. And they were like, yeah, that'd be the golden standard. You know, if we could find technology that could sink an aircraft carrier, that'd be like a game changer. So I thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, right, how would I sink an aircraft carrier? And I wanted to go, you know, I didn't want to go on the lines of, I didn't want to go down the lines of what everybody else would have been going down with, like, you know, missiles and this and that, and, you know, whatever. So I had a totally novel way of doing this. And I've not seen it anywhere else. I've not seen anybody using this. I don't know if they used my idea, but I do know they stole a few of my ideas. And, well, so I did continue to do some work with, you know, big primes, but the problem was they don't actually do anything. They just take ideas and then shelve them, and nothing really happens. So, you know, I didn't really like working with big primes. I prefer to work with a smaller company that are actually moving places and going places and developing their own technology. But that's on the sidelines, guys. So I went away and I was thinking, how would I you know, how would I take down an aircraft carrier? And then it came to me. My solution, I sent them, you know, I sent them a solution in emails, you know, just outlined what I would do. Now, I would get under that and I would release a ton of gas. So bubbles of gas underneath the aircraft carrier, and this thing would have to be huge, guys. But when you're thinking about an aircraft carrier of like, they cost billions, you know, developing this weapon system, if you can sink it, it's worthwhile. Now, you could, if you can release a mass amount of bubbles underneath a ship, it changes the displacement of the ship, and that ship that is normally that can normally float in water, it will sink, and it only has to sink a little bit for the water to come over the sides. So you don't really have to get it to sink that much. Now, the good thing about my system was it would happen so quick, and it would leave no trace. You know, people will go to the boat, there'd be no damage on the boat, and it would be just an absolute mystery how this happened. So when I'm looking at this boat, and guys, I have no idea, you know, I'm not a strategic diver and I've got no forensic background, but when I'm looking at this boat, I'm hearing things like, you know, it was a freak storm, and then people are saying, you know, oh, there wasn't a storm in that area, and then the shipbuilders are saying the ship should not have sank, and then I heard somebody come out and say the mast of the ship is still intact. So just for me, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, could that have been some technology similar to that, where, you know, gas is released up from the, you know, from around under the water, it changes the displacement, and then the ship sinks. Remember, you know, these ships, they only have to, you know, it only has to be one inch under the water and it goes. It's that quick, and that would drop that ship. There'd be no evidence. There'd be no, you know, there'd be no damage to the ship. It would literally just be one of those things. Yeah, ship sank. We've no idea how it happened, and that's the reality, guys. You know, could this have been it? You know, and we don't know. I don't know. I've not got any forensic background to decide that, but that's kind of how I would have done it. And I've put this forward, and I don't know if anything's been done with it, but that's just it, guys. Just food for thought. I'm not saying this has happened. I'm just saying that is, if I wanted to sink a ship and I had the money and the resources, that's pretty much how I do it. But anyway, guys, that is it. I'm going to mag to grid. I've just realized what time it is. I'm going to mag to grid, and I will see you guys later.